Thanks so much, Jen. I'm really excited to be here. This is my first time at Creative Mornings, and I found out about it because my colleague Marina reached out and said, would you be interested in participating in this? And I quickly said yes. I'm a big advocate for the creative community here in Philadelphia and was so excited to learn about this program. I did say yes, though, before I knew the theme for the day. So I'll get to that, but I had to figure that one out a little bit. So like Jen said, I am the executive director of marketing at Nuuly, and Nuuly's the newest brand under URBN's umbrella. I would love to know how many people in the audience have heard of Nuuly before. Whoa, okay. That, I have to admit, is totally surreal, watching kind of a brand come to life, from literally no one knowing what it is to almost a whole room. Well, I could cry. So I'm going to share with you today a little bit more about Nuuly and the path we took to bring it to life, but I'll talk a little bit about Reverie too. So when I heard the theme Reverie, first thing I had to do was Google it. I took the SATs a very long time ago, and I just needed to make sure that I knew exactly what it meant. So Reverie is a state of being pleasantly lost in one's thoughts or a daydream. Or John Locke said, reverie is when ideas float in our mind without reflection or regard of the understanding. So I thought about Reverie and I thought, wow, this is a little tough for me. Especially when I saw the graphic and there were unicorns and flying pigs. And I don't know, I'm not super, I'm very pragmatic, to be honest, I think, how I approach things. So I was like, wow, how's this theme gonna fit for me? But I did realize that I think I've built something over time in my career, that is this appreciation around really taking the time for unstructured thought and unstructured conversations. And to be honest, a lot of this time was what we really needed to concept the Nuuly brand, what the program was, what our strategy was going to be, and then to bring it to life. So I'll back up just a little bit. I'll tell you briefly about my career, how I ended up at Nuuly. Early days, I was an American Studies major, had really no idea what I wanted to be. I wrote my thesis in college about baseball. I ended up working my first job in PR. I was helping with a federally, there was a grant for the Benjamin Franklin Tercentenary, which was charged with celebrating Ben Franklin's 300th birthday here in Philadelphia, but also internationally. It was a really big deal. American Studies major, big Ben Franklin fan, best founding father, in my opinion. Had a really incredible year doing that. But then I thought, PR wasn't exactly the right fit for me. I really wanted to get into something that was a little bit more, I wanted a little bit more data, a little bit broader view of marketing, so moved to the agency side. But here in Philly, sometimes agency side marketing means you work on pharma and healthcare clients, which are great, but the pace was not quite right for me. Wanted something, a little bit more fast paced. I also really wanted to figure out what business was all about because the American Studies major didn't teach me that. And I wasn't necessarily learning that in the agency side to a great degree. So I decided to go back to school. I got my MBA here in Philly, and I decided I wanted to work for Urban Outfitters. So I just kept calling them until they let me have an internship. They didn't typically do MBA internships at the time, but somehow got my foot in the door at Anthropologie, and I ended up on this team that definitely doesn't exist anymore called the database marketing team. Very sexy. I don't think that team exists anywhere, but it was a great learning experience. Got a lot of good data skills under my belt, but also really got to learn the marketing space. While at Anthropologie, I was there for several years, and as a marketer, I did struggle a bit to like figure out my footing. There was always questions. Are you data driven? Are you a data driven marketer, or are you an intuitive marketer? And I didn't know what I was. I love data, and I'm really curious about information and digging into it and learning more. But instead of using that as like a single point to solve a problem, I like to use it to further hone my intuition. I think you need intuition as a marketer. So I had a great experience in Anthro, but at some point I was ready for something new. So I moved to a different building here on campus. There was a new team that was starting across URBN. It was called the digital team. So I moved over. The team was like the team was pretty structured in that there were product managers and user experience designers and engineers, but my role was very unstructured. I was a strategist, and my boss, who's still my boss now, Dave, said, why don't you just look into new business models in retail in the digital space and see if any might be interesting for URBN. So that was a really fun job. The first thing, I should give a little context. So this was like 2017. So Stitch Fix is getting really big at the time. Birchbox, everyone has a Birchbox, and like there's all these little beauty Ipsy and all these makeup boxes. So the subscription box idea was all the rage. And it was also like early stage Rent the Runway subscription, but really Rent the Runway was much more known for the one-off occasion dress rental. So I started doing research, surveys, and a lot of conversations with customers just to try to figure out where everyone's head was at and how fashion was changing and people's relationship with it was changing. And we felt one thing pretty clearly. It was like that like kind of box model, like the Stitch Fix, that was not right for us. It was an interesting model, but really geared towards a very convenience-driven customer. So somebody, in that model, somebody else is picking out the clothes, you're getting them sent, you can pick what you want and buy it, send the rest back. The customer that we know well here at URBN across all our brands, she likes to shop. So that's part of the fun, and the autonomy in the process, I think, is really critical. So luckily, we realized that pretty early on. But then one of the other themes that we kept hearing was this, like, it was a paradox almost. So there's this increasing desire for sustainability, but at the same time, people have an appetite for new clothes. And a lot of that was being fueled by the explosion of social media. So one thing seemed like a good fit for that, and that was rental. So new clothes, but a circular business model. So we started to talk more about this, and we had really good agreement that this was a great concept for URBN, but that was only, that's like such a small piece of the puzzle. It actually takes a lot to flush out how exactly are you going to do this. And I was working with a lot of people that didn't have a lot of time to, sit down and have these unstructured conversations about what the possibilities could be. So we got really lucky. And when we were starting to have these conversations, a few of us were in a conference in Vegas, and we got stuck there. There was a big snowstorm on the East Coast, and a few of us got stuck in Vegas for a few extra days and just kind of spent that time just talking and dreaming about what could be next for URBN. And we spent a lot of time kind of like thinking about what's the right approach for this. So, should we build this thing ourselves? Should we partner with a company that can do the logistics for us, that can handle the tech side? Should we launch this under the Anthropologie brand? That was something that we thought about for a long time. Or should we build this as its own thing? And we were able to really kind of think through some of that. And where we landed is we should build this as a new brand. We should build it ourselves. We should own it, because rental could be huge. It's barely started. And we really felt like once people start renting their clothes, why would they ever not want to rent their clothes? It just feels like such a thing that might be a forever thing, and that we could really grow and build a market for. And we also thought, why would we launch this under a single brand? Because if anyone else comes into the market, who's going to rent from one brand when you could rent from many brands? And we thought about Netflix as the example. Like, in the digital space, aggregation is really important, and breadth of assortment matters a lot. It means you can address a much broader market. So I'm gonna now just share with you a little bit. Oh, I should say also, after we launched Rental, we didn't stop having these conversations. In fact, so we launched in 2019. COVID hits 6 months later, which really knocked the legs out from under us. Nobody needed to rent clothes. It was tough, and I feel so grateful that we were part of a company that kept us going, because that was not a given. We were certainly not making any money, quite the opposite. But during that time, we also thought about, well, what do we do with the people that we have, the talent we have? And that was the time we started continuing to have these like kind of unstructured, free thinking conversations. And we decided to build a peer-to-peer resale platform. So now we have Nuuly Rent and we have Nuuly Thrift, two businesses under the circular fashion umbrella. Okay, so I'm gonna start with our brand promise written by someone in this room right now who I won't call out. Nuuly is all about choices. Customers can choose to engage with the brand in multiple ways, through renting, buying, selling, or any combination of the three. It's really up to them. Whether they're choosing to explore their relationship with clothing for sustainability reasons, economic reasons, or just because they want to experiment, they'll experience seamless technology, curated product tailored to their preferences, and zero judgments from a supportive, creative community. So that's Nuuly. And here's how Nuuly Rent works. So we have one offering right now for existing subscribers, 6 items for $88. We're in the midst of a price change, which is a really big deal for us, the first one in 4 years. So we're moving to $98 a month, and that is already in place for our new customers and existing in August. But basically, sorry, this is like impossible to see, so I'll just tell you about it. We decided to go to market with a really simple offer, and that was basically because our customers told us we were crazy to try to do multiple things. When we did research before, we had 2 offers and we killed one pretty close to the last minute. Nobody had really rented clothes, so the idea of offering people too many decisions made no sense. So I'm really glad our customers told us that and that we listened. We have everything from, special occasion product to premium denim to casual clothes. I think some of you are Nuuly subscribers, which is so cool. So you know very well our assortment. But basically, you rent the product for a month, you keep it, you wear it, you send it back. We take care of the laundry. We have a laundry facility about 40 minutes away, and it goes out to the next customer. There's a lot of work in the facility that happens. It's not as easy as I just described, but it's basically sharing your clothes with a community of 160,000 right now subscribers. So we build a platform. We have a pretty big tech team, built this platform from the ground up. We obviously have other brands here at URBN, but we really couldn't leverage a lot of what they had built because rental is not e-commerce. So there isn't like a notion of a typical cart and checkout. It's a subscription business. It has a closet. So we really had to take time and invest a lot in the user experience of building this as it's a new thing. We also had to build the entire back end. So we call this our rental management system, RMS. And it's really, what I think is really cool about it, which is probably not the same as what the ops people would say, but I think it's really cool that the user experience team really thoughtfully designed all of the interfaces for our fulfillment center team to use. They're beautiful, and I don't know that any other warehouse system looks as good as ours. But we have a lot of different functions at our warehouse, everything from washing to inspections to repairs. So this is an example of our inspection screen. So every single garment that comes through has to be inspected. There's a 12, or this is 16 points, quick math, inspection process, where they do everything from, smell the garment to check for color bleeding, to check for stains, to check for tears. So to make sure that everything that goes out is really of the best quality possible for our customers. And like I said, we have this 310,000 square foot warehouse. It's pretty incredible to see. So many clothes, and it's grown so fast. It's in Bristol. I think we might have we're hearing rumors from some consultants we work with that we have the largest laundry facility in North America. I didn't say it, someone told me, so I don't know. Don't quote it, but I think maybe. So that's in Bristol. We are quickly running out of space, so we are opening, we're tripling our capacity, opening a new warehouse or fulfillment center outside of Kansas City in Raymore, Missouri. That'll open up probably around January. We're in it now, but it'll open to customers at the end of our fiscal year. Just to talk a little bit about the clothes that we offer. So like I said, such a variety. Everything from like your staple closet favorites like Madewell. Obviously our own brands are a huge part of our assortment. And honestly, one of the reasons that we've been able to make this business model very successful. We also have premium denim. We have our buyers scour Instagram for up and coming designers from all over the world. So it's a really great assortment, but also our customer is not like just brand driven. They trust our edit. They trust us to make great decisions and offer great product. And a lot of brand discovery actually happens through our platform, which is very fun. Just a fun way that we think about how we put our edit together. So we like to balance our assortment across a variety of aesthetics to make sure that we end up with something for everyone. So we have the London look, which is a little bit more preppy and classic. We have Paris, which is very romantic, probably a little bit more akin to the Anthropologie brand traditionally. We have New York, which is very cool, edgy, and a little bit more trend forward. Some of our younger customers might gravitate here. Ojai is probably the traditional free people customer, bohemian and effortless. We have the minimalist Copenhagen. So it's not to say that any customer is one of these things. Many shop across these things, but it helps us have kind of a balance in our assortment. Oh, and LA. This is kind of like the cozy casual look. And just to touch on our customers, so when we launched Nuuly, we really wanted to launch this concept to be kind of something that could be across all of our brand's customers, or kind of in the middle. So you can see that we have our core customers, 25 to 35. We certainly go above and below that, but that's kind of our key target. She's career-minded. She has a very active social schedule, cares about family, friends, travel. She definitely likes fashion. She uses it as a form of self-expression. Like I said, it's a customer that values probably shopping and finds fashion fun versus looking for something that's very convenience-driven. And she likes styling her clothes with a unique approach. So this, we're all across the country. We grew a lot in the South during the pandemic, which is why you see that bubble a little larger. I think they just didn't have as many restrictions as maybe were in other parts of the country. We expect this to change, especially as we open up our second warehouse. There will be faster delivery. We're always dealing with that. We're shipping out of here in Pennsylvania. So I think this mix will change a bit, which is exciting. And just to note where we are right now, we've grown really fast. It's been incredibly exciting, sometimes daunting, but the growth in the last year and a half has been incredible. There's been pain points, I'll be honest. So everything from making sure we have enough available product on our site to suit customers across a variety of sizes and backgrounds. That's been hard. It's hard to keep up with the growth sometimes. We have to buy ahead, and we have to buy 6 months ahead of that growth often. Also, learning our seasonality, it's not the same as retail. I don't know that we have it 100% down. I think we're a lot better than we were a year ago, but COVID really was quite hard to measure anything. And now we're learning about what our busiest times are. And what happens when we have these really busy times is that a lot of people order at the same time. Our fulfillment center kind of gets a surge, and it can be harder to get the shipments out super fast, which is what our customer expects and deserves. So we're still learning and working through these growing pains. And honestly, like what we've had to do, especially in the last probably month or two, is sit down and say, we need to keep our focus on our core experience. That's honestly why I talked much more about Nuuly Rent than Nuuly Thrift today. We have this growing business that people love. And, you know, of course, there's so many ideas, and I might get questions about them. Are you going to do Nuuly Men's? Are you going to go international? And the answer is maybe someday, but right now we have to get this experience right for our core customer. It's how we're going to continue to grow, and it's how we're going to continue to grow this market. So we've had to put a pause on some of the bells and whistles that maybe we wish we could be working on. Honestly, I shouldn't say that. I think we are all happy that we get to work on our core experience and grow our core experience. I think that's exciting for a lot of our team. But I will say it doesn't mean we've given up this like unstructured way of thinking, or that we don't have kind of freedom to explore new ideas. We still do that. We still have those moments of reverie. And I will say that, you know, for you all, some of you probably work in more traditionally creative roles than maybe I came up through, and maybe Reverie is very easy for you and it comes naturally. It's not for me. It's something that I kind of needed to exercise and continue to work at. And I think what's important is just finding your thing. So my thing is going for walks. So thank you to the Navy Yard here today for allowing us to, you know, have this wonderful space here. But I'm mostly here on campus, and I go for walks all the time. Like if a meeting ends 15 minutes early, I'm going out for a walk, and it's where I don't have an agenda. I just try to use that time to like let my mind rest, and a lot of good ideas come in those occasions. That might not be your thing. Your thing might be, going to museums. It might be reading poetry, whatever it is. Protect the time and do it. And I would say, if you're a people manager, it might be even more important for you to protect that time for your team. Our creative director's here today. Her team has that time. Every Wednesday afternoon, they have time to be creative and explore new creative things. And I think it's really made our creative so impactful at Nuuly. I think it's really critical. And I think in closing, I'm just gonna share a really poignant, well-thought quote, which I think is a great call to action for all of us. It's from the esteemed female R&B group in Vogue, Free Your Mind and the Rest Will Follow.